Hello there, welcome back to another Valkyria Chronicles video, and it's been a while, it's been quite a while, and much longer than I intended. It's since 2018, I started the raw material, should we say, for these videos was recorded in December 2018, and I hadn't got around to doing them since. Now, in fairness, I suppose, initially I was holding off because I knew that the broadband was on, just really close, in the sense that it had been due the previous year. I knew that the cabling was done to my house, more or less. All I was waiting was for the offer to become live. As it turned out, I had to actually chase them down because there was some issue. It was a bookkeeping issue or an administrative issue. But there was a mismatch between my air code, which is the new house identification system used by the Postal Service, and whatever details they had from my landline. And until I actually chased it up and pursued the matter, I didn't actually get the fibre broadband in. But I've had it there for over 2 months, and I hadn't got around to doing the video, so I kind of half forgot about it. And again, they're long videos; they take quite a bit of while to prepare, simply because the battles just take quite a while to do. So Fouzen is the next stage after the adventures around Rangri's saving the princess, and Squad 7 is basically sent back into the fray and into the offensive. So the militia are planning a general offensive in the Fouzen region, which is the industrial heartland of Gallia, where the Ragnite is mined, and so on and so forth. One of the reasons they have this infiltration mission, and it's your typical game-like infiltration mission, where you think infiltration mission, yeah, people sneaking in and nobody being noticed, but these guys are actually going to shoot their way in. The reason for the infiltration mission is that General Gregor is defending Fouzen, and he's got this armoured rail tank artillery, but as the backbone of the defence of Fouzen. And to take out the armoured train, our heroes have to infiltrate into the town. They have to make contact with a local resistance leader who is kind of a camp foreman. There's basically the Empire have rounded up all the Darcsens and they put them into forced labour camps, and they're keeping them in appalling conditions. And it's there's a lot of emphasis on how bad conditions are both in the work camp and in the actual work conditions. Essentially, the Imperials have no regard for the lives, the health, or the safety, or even the continued ability to work on the part of the Darcsens. They're quite happy to work them to death, and more than happy to work them to death. In some ways, you'd imagine sort of the death is the priority rather than actual productivity. It's also, as part of the storytelling, brings Rosie in particular face to face with the consequences of the kind of prejudice that she harbours against Darcsens, which is part of the story development as well, and turns out to be quite shocking to Rosie. So the initial stage, there's two battles essentially set around the Fouzen area. There's the initial infiltration, make contact with the Darcsen agent, and then the final assault, should we say, on the armoured train. So this is the initial infiltration phase, and it falls into two parts. The first really is where you bring a sniper around using the trolley car system around to this side, and you just sort of try and clear out. There's a lot of snipers on this level. Now, I don't seem to be allowed to roam free on this level. I didn't actually try too hard, because moving snipers anyway is expensive. They don't have a lot of movement, but there are more snipers on this level. But I'm going to have to send scouts down into the lower ground in order to spot them. So one of the things, like I said, is I want to get this guy shot. I want to get identify the other snipers. But the thing is, the trolley cars only carry one passenger, so I keep having to bring her back to restock with ammunition. And furthermore, I only brought one engineer, which is probably a mistake. I should probably have brought 2 engineers at least for this phase. One of them essentially dedicated to supplying the sniper, and the other one to support the advance and clear landmines and support the tank and various other things like that. As it is, poor Ramsey is run ragged, back and forth between the different tactical imperatives of the mission. So the first thing you do, like I said, is you bring forward people. You're trying to locate the enemy. The spotlights that you see moving around are the same deal as in the Escape in the Woods operation. If you trigger the spotlights, it will cause an artillery round to fall, a mortar round to fall in that location, which will do severe damage to any troops in the sort of zone of effect of the mortar round. But it's especially with the tank, it's generally cost effective to actually trigger them deliberately so that the tank can clear the area. So you trigger them at one end at the beginning of the tank's movement, so that the tank can clear the area and doesn't have to worry about the mortar round damaging the tank, because there are defences, there are tanks that you're going to run into, and Lancers. So because this took me 2 attempts essentially to do this round, and I had almost the mission completed when there was basically a Lancer hiding in long grass, and he shot directly into the radiator of the Edelweiss, and that was the end of my first attempt. I lost the Edelweiss. So a lot of the time was actually just spent faffing around getting troops into the correct positions, and there is actually not a lot of fighting, and the fighting isn't terribly decisive or terribly difficult. Now there is something to be said for clearing out, for using the trolley car system, particularly to clear out snipers and particular things like that. But sometimes, like I think the first trolley car, yes, the best unit to send around on the trolley car is a sniper, because a lot of the fighting, a lot of the units that you have to shoot at are at long range. But there's the subsequent trolley car, you can probably better sending out somebody as a scout. So I mostly brought scouts on this mission, because for the most part you need the mobility of the scouts. And for I did bring along a Lancer, because I do think it is useful generally to have at least one representative of each branch of arms, because if you need them, you need them. Although the limited mobility of the Lances is a problem, and similarly with shock troopers. Fortunately, I don't have to actually move the sniper much once I get her into action. It's mostly a question of activating her, not moving her much, and just resupplying her, bringing her back and forth on the trolley system. It does use up a lot of command points, but it's not a heavy burden. I left Rosie actually back at the base for the entire duration, because I did have a scenario, I can't remember which one it was. I did have a scenario where I thought the base was safe, and I abandoned the base in a map not too dissimilar to this, and I discovered that all of a sudden, if the base was completely empty, an enemy popped up from an unexpected direction and went and occupied my base, which was a rather embarrassing way to lose the scenario. So I didn't know whether there was a possibility the enemy could make it out from the back somewhere. So I actually left Rosie there for the duration, but I never brought her forward because, again, the mobility issue. I had Hannah as the forward shock trooper, and he was a safer bet as well, because if I lose Hannah, I don't lose command points. She doesn't represent kind of officer or leadership capability within the squad. So a lot of this early phase of the fighting is sending Marina back and forth to restock her with ammunition and to attack enemy units. And she actually loses, she misses quite a lot. Now, some of them are my own fault. There's one case at least where I didn't zoom in, properly, or I don't appear to have zoomed in properly. There is some issues with this video. I had to switch off the sound completely because it was totally out of sync with the action. I mean, it was like 2 seconds out of sync with the action. And I don't really have the tools when the original recorded video gets out of sync to actually sync it back up. However, we push people forward. Initially, I'm going to avoid the lights. I'm going to avoid activating the lights, at least until I'm ready to bring the tank into play, because I want to be sure when you activate the lights that you actually have everybody out of the way. You activate them in such a place that they can stay out of the way, and then that you have enough movement points on the tank to get the tank clear of the lights that you've activated, so that it can get into a location where it's relatively safe. Plus, I wanted to scout forward to find out where the enemies were. I can't see anything from Marina's position up above, but as it turns out, Noche will stumble across quite a few enemies. So one of them has been spotted already, so we have an enemy sniper over there overlooking the bridge. These guys can be quite deadly, so it's well worthwhile trying to get rid of them. Now, we've managed to get one hit in, but it turns out in many cases these guys, like I said, Marina was missing quite a lot of her shots in this particular engagement. So I didn't zoom in here, for instance, and we just missed completely. I don't know why. And I don't know why I didn't zoom in either. All I can say that it was probably, I don't know, late at night and I was tired or wasn't feeling well or something. Don't really know. And we're basically around to the end of the round, so there's not much more that can be achieved here. And then we go back into the enemy phase. And there's going to be a bit of action here, I think. No, we don't see anything because it's all happening out of line of sight from our units and we don't see anybody. So again, we have to trigger Ramsey. We have to trigger Ramsey before we can send Marina off, because otherwise Marina won't be resupplied. And we send Ramsey off around again so that she can participate in later on in the action as well, because she will be needed on the other side as well, because there are possibilities that the tank will get damaged, or that the mines need to be cleared or whatever. So more scouting needs to be done, and Noche moves forward. Nothing apparent at the moment. And now we've spotted 2 snipers. So we've located 2 snipers at this point in time. Move into the cover of the houses and we come around, and then we discover an enemy shock trooper. Now I'm operating at sort of the edge of effective range. So I could do some damage to the shock trooper, but I don't do proportionally as much damage as I would do if I was closer to him. So I'd probably be better off if I'd moved actually closer before I'd engaged in the enemy and fired my shots. If you close in, you'll still take hits though. That's the problem. So it's a balance sometimes of whether you stop or where you stop, or depending on what kind of soldier what kind of unit you are. So obviously shock troopers are more resilient to fire and can afford to close the distance, so to speak. They have more hit points and more resistance to incoming fire. So there we have a shot, we miss. And this is going to be kind of a pattern for the evening. So we're going to activate it again. We have more rounds left. She's got 2 more rounds. So we're going to get another shot out of her at least. We zoom in. And we fire. Should be 1 hit to kill. And we miss again. This is becoming a bit of a habit, isn't it? We can do this one more time, and then we're going to have to bring her back and restock. Or resupply her with ammunition. Or wait till once a turn so that you can let her restock that way. So otherwise, is it once a turn or once every second turn? If you're at 0 ammunition, do you get 1 back the next turn? I'm not sure. We've managed to take out the first sniper, and I think there's a second sniper up there as well. Because Marina hasn't completed her mission and she's out of ammunition, we're going to have to bring her back in order to get resupplied, which means that poor old Ramsey's going to run all the way back up that hill again, because and she's going to have to take 2 activations to do so, because she doesn't move as far with subsequent activations as you move at the start. So every unit in the Valkyria Chronicles, they have their best movement at their first activation. So in each subsequent activation, there's a certain reduction in the amount of movement they can manage. Essentially, they're accumulating exhaustion. So eventually, they reach the point where the returning, sort of the diminishing returns on movement is just not worth activating them. So Marina goes back around again. She's now back into position to resume her sniping post. And there we have a distant enemy sniper, and again, same thing as before. We have to kill him, and this guy ducks and dodges and avoids the bullet completely. So we're going to have to try this again. It's going to be a bit of a chore, and means that we're now I think should be a good one, but this shot misses again. So again, we're going to have to try again. We have one more round left, and otherwise we're going to have to reactivate the whole thing again. And take your time. And I forgot to zoom in again. I don't know. I really don't know what I was thinking of at the time. But we're back around. But I see we have to activate the engineer in order to get the resupply done. We can't just arrive at Marina, walk past the engineer, and a supply box with ammunition automatically gets added into her backpack. It doesn't work like that. In the meanwhile, I also have the rest of the squad to forward deploy, so we're going to push Nancy up. Again, we're going to avoid, we don't want to trigger the mortars this early. No particular reason not to, other than it's just, should we say, it isn't necessarily efficient, because if you trigger them in the wrong spot, then you might not have the movement to get a unit clear of them. And you might only find out when you march the unit into them. If you're not careful with both your unit and your command points remaining. Now I could snipe at the sniper with this character, but I'm beginning to think that the number of shots, 3 shots to kill, well, we got pretty close. We didn't quite make it. I think 3 shots to kill was probably better than I was expecting. So, off we go again. Enemy phase. So the snipers and the shock trooper are in contact, and the sniper puts a round through Nancy and knocks her down pretty badly. And then she gets shot by a tank. It's a bit unfortunate. Chances the tanker hit her are actually pretty slim, but it turns out they did it, and she isn't gone from the game for good. She's not completely dead. She can be revived and brought back. And Noche is after getting taken out as well, but the remaining enemy shock troopers was out there in the forward area around their barracks. So, it's off again to my round and do the same thing all over again. So I need to get more troops down there. So back around again, the enemy have made their moves, and there's obviously some troops, and we need to clear them out, then advance the whole squad into the proper location. Can't bring on reinforcements just yet, because the roster still counts as full. The units are only wounded. They have to be medically evacuated before they can be replaced. So we need to bring up a heavy hitter to clear out the enemy shock trooper. So Hannes is up. It's going to take more than one move to get him up, and I need to get him across this open space, preferably without triggering the mortar, because that's going to complicate things. So I'm going to chase around, because I want to get him past the lights before he runs out of movement. Well, he's not quite properly clear, but the light has to go all the way around. So we now push him forward, So he's going to medically evacuate Nancy. That will clear up a space on our roster as well. And he doesn't have the movement to get much further. Might get a shot on the shock trooper. It's kind of a limited angle. And it looks like the shock trooper doesn't have a return fire angle. That sometimes happens. We're going to activate him again so that we can push forward. We're now in the sort of activation zone of the enemy shock trooper, but he's not completely out of bullets. However, we've been dishing out more than we're receiving. Hannes is actually in pretty good shape, although I'd have to get rid of the sniper above him to make him sort of safe. Or preferably get rid of the shock trooper as well. There's another unit coming up in support of the shock trooper, looks like, as well. So we're now going to activate Alicia. She has the undodgeable shot ability, and she's got much better movement, of course, so she can do it all in one move. Now, 2 shots should do it. So there's the potential kicks off, undodgeable shot. See, that means your man, even if he has the dodge ability, it probably won't kick off. Not when our undodgeable shot is active. These potentials seem to just randomly, they randomly activate. It's one of the things you have to be careful about on the missions too. So sometimes you have people that don't function well in urban environments, in which case the potentials can trigger. I think we saw it in the previous battle where Ramsey's lack of confidence triggered, so she didn't move at all, and she died out in the open under fire. So we need to activate Ramsey. Speaking of Ramsey, so as to supply Marina with a box of ammunition. And then we need to go back down to where she was before so that I can actually advance her position. So down she goes, and she won't make it off the bridge. But it's not a bad location for her, and I think I'll probably need to activate the sniper next. So Marina has been activated, put onto the trolley car. She has her own potentials after just kicking off. I don't know if it'll do me any good at this point in time. I'm not sure what the benefit of this. There's 2 of them. Anyway, they're a fairly long way away though. And given her recent shooting ability, it'd take quite some time to get rid of them. Well, anyway, get rid of him at 1 shot. Maybe that potential kicking off was a good thing. It has really boosted her abilities. So now, however, this is a separate activation, so I don't think it counts anymore. Now this guy is a long way off. Can't see any of the people attacking in the buildings because the way the buildings have angled. Don't have a line of fire down there. So let's attempt the most distant sniper and see how we do. Potentially it's a 2 shot or a 7 shot, depending on where you hit them. That was pretty good. That was more than half the sniper's hit points at this range. So I wouldn't like to be doing 7 shots though. That would be at least 7 activations. And given that she was missing like 50% of the time, it would take 14 activations. That'd be like 2 full turns. Nobody else moves, except she'd have to reload 5 times. Yes, definite flaw in the trolley car system. It's also the maps are a bit random as well. People wasn't really thinking about urban design, just more on the look and feel of the trolley cars rather than the actual purpose. I mean, what purpose does that particular trolley car have? It just goes around in a little circle and doesn't join up neighbourhoods or anything like that. Anyway. It's there as a tactical consideration as part of the map tactical puzzle rather than thinking about the thing like a town first. And actually, I don't it's an area where sort of world building would have actually made more sense, and to build things that make sense in the world, it would have increased the verisimilitude. World building is actually a funny one when it comes to games and RPG design, or even fantasy story design. I personally think a lot of people put too much emphasis on world building, and they focus on world building to the detriment sometimes of the story. They want to show you all the clever things they've thought of and how the world works and how it impacts logically on one thing or another. Whereas a lot of time, and for a lot of storytelling, a simple metaphorical backdrop will actually do something analogous to the real world, where people can just fill in the blanks themselves. It's only if sort of the world building matters in terms of the plot or the main development of the story that I think it just needs to be worked through in a major way. But occasionally, things like that, things like maps, I think in particular, can be very jarring if they're not done right. And in particular, these trolley cars just look like a model railways diorama, build set or whatever, where you have the trains going around in circles to show the fact that you have working points and sidings and whatnot, but nothing to do with the actual real world, shall we say, transport solution type situation. And that's the same problem with these trolley cars. They go around in a circle and they don't do anything much. It's somewhere like somebody says, well, the town would have trolley cars, and it'd be a nice tactical thing to allow a limited use of the trolley cars. But we wouldn't want to use the trolley cars to, say, bypass most of the encounters and let the squad infiltrate into the finish line without actually encountering the enemy forces that we have set up so painstakingly on the way. And in those cases, I think it can be a bit detrimental. I've noticed it a few times in World of Tanks, for instance. Well, it took me a while actually to notice it, but there's a map cliff. It's got a lighthouse on a hill, on a promontory. But that sounds okay, except when you look at the map after a long time looking at the map, there's two bits of the map they're not playable, but they show headlands going out beyond the promontory on either side of the bay where the lighthouse is engaged in. And there's no harbour or anything. So what's the lighthouse doing there? If it's not the furthest out thing to see, what purpose is it serving? That sort of stuff. Sometimes I do, these sort of things bug me. I look at maps in particular, used to trigger me off. I remember, when the fantasy explosion of the 80s, yes. Prior to the 80s, well, in Ireland certainly there was no fantasy available in the shops. Lord of the Rings was there, and what was it? Stephen Donaldson's Thomas Covenant, the Bulgariad, and I think some of the early Terry Brooks stuff. And Brooks in particular was a very bad example. He was a guy who had maps in all his books, and he better off he left them out, because they looked nonsensical. They literally just looked like, you look at the map and you go, there's 4 rivers going into an inland lake. None of them are leaving. How does this work? And it's not a desert climate. That sort of thing. Why are all the mountains around the edge of the world? So you have this kind of bowl-shaped world. Anyway, let's get back to the game. I'm speeding up this bit of the video simply because it's just pure redeployment. It's all about positioning. I have more or less cleared out the initial encounter. So the second encounter is hidden from me at the moment. It's actually on the bridge where the tank fired at Nancy early on. But I have nobody in a position to engage in the units on the bridge. I need to get them to a kick-off position first, so they can usefully, bring them to play later on. Which also means, of course, that I need to bring the tank up. So I want to bring everybody else up first, avoiding the spotlights, and then I can bring the tank up, triggering the spotlights in a way that doesn't cause the mortar round, hopefully, to drop on the tank. But I reckon if anything can survive the mortar round, it's probably the tank. So everybody comes up. I have just speeded up the video so that we don't spend 15 minutes just basically watching units advance. I did bring on some reinforcements because I had 2 losses and I felt that I probably need them. We're like a third of the way in, maybe 50% of the way in. And here we are now, so I can avoid that one. This is the one I want to kind of trigger. I'm going to make sure that I have enough command points. I'm waiting here for it to trigger. So it's triggering at the start of my movement. So I should be, and I'm clear of the mortar round now. So I should be okay. Now, I think the tank in its current location will finish up triggering the spotlight again next turn, because before I move anybody else, the spotlight would have come up, wandered across the tank and spotted it. But it's a tank, it's a big machine, and it's going to be hard to hide. So that's where the mortar round's going to drop. Now we've got Melville, we've got a couple of command points to play with. We've brought him down here. We're going to be in between the buildings, but I think we're at the inside of the mortar round. And even though the building might shelter him, I'm not going to bet on it. So I'm going to move him again and get him right up with the rest of the people, and we'll spare the last command point. It's always useful to have an extra command point. Mortar round comes in and we kick it off again now, and I think we resume back to normal speed. Now here I want to trigger the spotlights, and I want to trigger them in a spot of my choosing. A couple of problems tactically. I have a minefield, so we run Alicia out and deliberately trigger the spotlight. So we've got a mortar round dropping on that location. As you can see, there's a mortar round going to drop on the tank as well. So the previous spotlight has found the tank, and then we trigger the second spotlight on the same location. Not quite the same. And now I'm going to push Alicia out of the way, because I don't want her involved straight away. As you can see there, I could probably go up the hill, get up to where the snipers were from this side. So now we have 3 mortar rounds incoming this round, but we can move the tank into the space between them, and we can use it to shoot the enemy tank. So there we have it. Get a shot in. Didn't do as much damage as I was hoping, but it's still a certain amount of damage done. We now move Largo up, and he can take another shot at the enemy tank. And hopefully he will do a little bit more damage. One more should do it from either vehicle, although Largo will probably be the most effective in terms of command point usage. And I think he's safe enough in his current location as well. So we activate him for the final time. And we remove the enemy tank. So let's get the tank out of the way. So now I can clear the mines. Because the problem with the mines is there were mines further up on the bridge, which I'm not sure whether there are or aren't. As I moved Ramsey up into the range of the enemy machine gun, she'd have probably gotten killed, because she doesn't have the resilience of other types of troopers. So now I want her to get her up beside the mine so that I can disarm it without getting her blown up. It's 1 mine gone. Now we have an anti-tank mine. I think there's less risk of blowing her up with this one, because she's not going to have the weight to trigger it. And we now want to get her up onto the bridge. So we get her up onto the bridge, and she actually makes it more or less the whole way up there without being seen or spotting anybody. Now it turns out, first time I played it, I didn't investigate the long grass. And there's an enemy Lancer lying down on the long grass, and he shot my tank in the rear. So I knew to investigate it this time around. And here comes Melville, and it's going to be his job. Up we go. We know there's no mines on the bridge. We know there's an enemy base around the corner in that little kind of alcove, and Melville is too far away to trigger aggro from the enemy base. And can I get let's go a bit closer. I want to get a grenade on this guy, because these lads are tough. So I want to get rid of him. So that should soften his cough a bit. Actually, no, he took minimal damage. Wow. Who would have thought? Okay. But at least he's standing up. So he's easier to hit. And we just start putting rends into him. We don't quite kill him, but his defenses have dropped, so it should be easier for somebody else to shoot him. And since I don't want Melville shot in the back by people in the base, I'm going to bring Melville back into cover with the remainder of his movement. So now I have only 3 activations left. People are probably safe enough, but I might as well also move people when I can. So Alicia is the next up, and I can use her to bring her up beside Melville and actually probably finish off the Lancer on the grass. And there he is. And she takes him out, and that's it. Alicia's very reliable, actually, for killing people. And now we end our current phase, and we're going to have a couple of activation points remaining. The yellow flag you see pulsing there on the left-hand side is the final destination. So the enemy are now requesting reinforcements. We're close enough to their headquarters to see some of their command, and as a Lancer comes out and he shoots at Alicia, and he misses with a lance. Yes, just probably indicates that there's a lack of shock troops or scouts inside the base at the moment. Lancer activates again, shoots at Alicia, and misses again. She fires at him some more, but he's angled so that he's not drawing aggro from Melville, and it's just our Ramsey. It's just Alicia shooting back. There's one mortar round coming in. There's the other mortar round coming in behind the Edelweiss, and there should be a third mortar round dropping in the front of the bridge, and that's it. All 3 mortar rounds have dropped, and now it's back around to my turn again. Back around to our command phase, and it's now play catch up again, bring on the next of the guys. We're basically leapfrogging forward into our position. We're going to trigger the 2 lights again, because we want them to fall. We want the mortar round to fall this side of the bridge if we can possibly manage it, so that everybody be at the other side of the bridge, well away from any danger when we bring things up. And that's as far as Largo can get. I really should have put him on one side of the bridge. He's possibly in the way of the tank where he stands. So we activate him again to get him up into cover. We won't bother trying to shoot the Lancer with Largo. He's just up here. Essentially get him out of the way and get him into a position where I can use him later on if I need him. Now to bring up the Edelweiss, same deal. I mean, we've already pinned the lights. So it's just bringing up the Edelweiss. We can use the Edelweiss to actually clear out the enemy base area, because the base is going to have troops in a fortified position. We're going to use the mortar round because we have the attack. We might as well take use of it. We haven't actually killed the shock trooper with it, but we have, or the Lancer rather, but he is on very low health now as a result of that. And since we're removing the Edelweiss anyway, we might as well have taken advantage of its attack. So I'm just going to move Melville enough to finish off the Lancer, so that I can actually then use the Edelweiss to help clear out the base, because I want to take out that base as quickly as possible. I don't want enemy reinforcements gathering here in great numbers. At the moment there's 2 enemy defenders, a shock trooper and a scout. So now we bring up the Edelweiss. I don't know if it'll have the movement to completely make it up there, although we have line of sight. Yes, we have line of sight to both of them. Well, definitely to the to this guy. I just want to drop around more to get rid of the cover than get rid of the soldier. Didn't do a lot of damage to the shock trooper, but it has gotten rid of his cover, which makes it again easier for my people to come up when they come along later on to get rid of them. And now we bring the Edelweiss a bit further forward. Again, it's to remove the cover on the same side. We're going to make a mortar attack again. So there we... Was it too short? Seems to be a problem of some sort. I don't know. Anyway, the shock trooper is still alive, so we end the current action, and now we'll bring up Hannes. Hannes will probably take 2 moves to get up as well, just like Largo, maybe even 3 moves to get him into the position to attack the base. But we don't have to worry about where in the bridge he is, because the tank's already moved up. He can be in the middle of the bridge and in the way for all we care. He won't quite at the moment, will he? Okay, he'll get a line of sight, the shock trooper. And we might as well put some rounds in. Doesn't seem to make a difference where. Did minimal damage, we're just too far away. Ranges are obviously, as you can see, quite short in this game. So we can activate him again, so we can get him a bit closer. Because he is the best for this kind of close assault work. And this goes out in the open, so we finish him off. And he's also the most dangerous of the 2 defenders, so he's the one to get rid of. We're very close to the final objective now. Once we take this base, the enemy are going to get some of their reinforcements in. But we should be able to clear them out. It's just 2 scouts. It's then a question of crossing the last bridge and taking out the position. So Hannes is receiving some return fire, and he's giving as good as he gets. The fact that if they attack him too often, they might just die. He gets attacked again by some of the other. And of course, yeah, they attract each other's attention. They all join in. Hopefully Hannes is getting some fire support as well from the tank. It looks like he is. End of the turn, mortar rounds fall where the lights have been activated, but we're past the lights now. We won't have to worry about them for the immediate future. And now it's back around to us, and we're going to activate. The Edelweiss. Well, up we go, and there goes the bomb. And it kills everybody as well, which is good. Makes things so much easier. I can now just turn around the tank, and we're now in a position to move the tank into the next location, because we need to push on. So there's another trolley car. It goes around in circles and doesn't lead anywhere in particular. And here we have another bridge with anti-tank mines on it. And a light, and there's lights on the other side as well. So it's going to be more or less the same tactics again. Okay, we're going to send a scout in because he's got the movement to capture the flag here. That takes over the base, and it means it can't be used by the enemies, so they can't bring on reinforcements here. We've occupied the camp, and we can bring on reinforcements from our camp. So we don't have to march them all the way around the map if we have to bring on extra troops. Now, we're still only allowed what we have in our initial deployment, so it's just replacements for losses that have already been incurred. Now, I've put this guy here, and I'm more or less, actually, I think I blocked my access to my reinforcements moving forward, but that's something I didn't discover until I started moving up subsequent units. Similar procedure to before. I'm going to start leapfrogging units forward. Bring on some reinforcements here as well. I have 2 units that I can bring on, because I never really replaced the losses from the previous days, the first gunfight, when Noche and Nancy went down under a hail of gunfire, and I can actually bring on Noche and Nancy as well. I could also take off Rosie and bring on another unit as well, and take the chance that the base will be okay. However, I don't know if I need the extra people. Like, I seem to be doing alright with the people I got. Now she can't get past them on this side. And so I'll leave her where she is at the moment. I can in theory make use of the trolley car as well. I don't know how beneficial it is at this point in time. It doesn't seem to be going in the right direction. This is a more heavy infantry kind of guy. He's low enough on hit points. He's been taking a bit of a beating, so he might as well, when he's out of combat, use his action to heal up. And he doesn't have a lot of movement left, so we're going to leave him alone. We can bring up Largo as well, again another slow unit. We might as well get him as close as we can, just so he's in a position to keep up, basically, so he doesn't have to worry about, we don't worry about bringing him up later. And that leaves with Ramsey. So Ramsey will just comes up as well, and just to get her into supporting position. No need to push Ramsey too far forward either. And we have one command point left. We just leave it at that, and we let the enemy act. Now, I don't think we're in a position to trigger out aggro there. Obviously, the reinforcements have been cancelled. And they don't attempt to come across the bridge after us. So now we're ready to commence our final operations. We have reinforcements have arrived. So we're now back up to full strength. So this should be straightforward enough. However, let's not make a frontal assault. However, we can't get Ramsey out because Melville is blocking the path. Melville, get your fat ass out of the way. It's a bit embarrassing. Queuing problems, traffic management, frequently a problem. Well, Alicia, we're going to bring her onto the trolley cars and see what's to be seen. Let's do some scouting. Now, she's on the other side of the map, and she's miles away from anywhere, but there's a path up there. So let's take this path up and see where it gets us. So we follow the path up. We go on, no. Yep, that's it. Let's not get stuck on the terrain. Up we go. And around. And we have 2 enemy snipers. So, hand grenade time. Right, let's get closer. There's guys downstairs as well. So, obviously, we can see them, and we're still not close enough. There's a tank, and a couple of guys with it. We can move a bit closer, and we're with hand grenade range now. We're near enough to hand grenade range. We go as close as we possibly can. We're actually out of movement now. Okay, that's as close as we're going to get it. Pop it up, boom, snipers don't have a lot of health, they don't have a lot of defenses, and they're both dead. That was quick and efficient. There's the vote from Alicia, hand grenade, Melchot. And what have we got down here? We got lancers and a tank. Get the feeling they're expecting a tank to attack them. I think they're expecting a tank to attack them. Well, a tank will attack them. Ramsey still can't move. Yes, we need to move Melville. Melville needs to get out of the way. So you might as well push forward a little bit. And put a few rounds anyway when he's at it into somebody. Because these guys are going to have to go anyway. Didn't do a lot of damage. The Lancers did some defense down damage. But it should allow us to move. Move. No, not him. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do me any good at all. Just need to get him out of my way. But I can use him to fire at the tank, I suppose. Although we're at a fairly long range, so we don't do a huge amount of damage to the tank. And with both the minefield and the light to worry about, I'm also kind of limited in what I can do with some of that stuff. So we have Mariana. Should I bring Mariana on? She got pollen allergy. She doesn't like the long grass. Yes, I'm bringing her on. I'm supposed to get rid of the Lancers. She only gets halfways there. And, well, she's made further shots than this. Now let's zoom in this time. Headshot. One shot kill. You missed. Again. Definitely. Anyway, let's try that again. Zoom in. Zoom in. I was lucky. I didn't zoom in, but I managed to get the shot off anyway. Yeah, enough of the two. You've missed often enough. Let's shoot the other guy. Let's shoot the other guy. And the other guy is... Well, don't put a shooting these lands. You won't shoot him. And we missed. Again. Okay. We're running out of command points here, woman. We activate Ramsey this time. Okay, we'll resupply Marina. We pin the light. We are now in a position to disarm the mine. I hope we've nobody in the line of sight of them. Well, she might as well fire, I guess. And then she might as well get the hell out of Dodge. So that brings her, does it bring her out of the, I think it brings her safely out of the bombard circle. It looks like they have two troopers inside the circle. Potentially tricky, this. Move the tank forward slightly so that I get an angle. Isn't quite dead. Don't want to move it any further. I'd be in the zone of the bomb. And ideally I want Melville, and I don't know if I had the movement point to do it, the command points to do it though. Took the chance, it looks like. Left the two lads inside the zone of the bomb. Let's see how this works out. Incoming, tank fires. Strikes the Edelweiss. It's okay. Lance fires. Hits the tracks. Immobilizes the Edelweiss really, or will if it does it again. That was a bit more severe. And incoming mortar round. Kaboom. Two boys picked themselves up. They're not dead. Which is fortunate. Now, what am I doing here? We can repair the tank. So that's the first order of business. We have Ramsey in there. We repaired the tank. Oh, 100%. Nice and shiny. Excellent. We activate Marina. Her lone wolf stuff kicks off. We just want to kill one guy. One guy, that's all. And, oh, you missed again. So much for lone wolf. Lone wolf potentially kicks off again. One shot. And we got him. Okay. All is forgiven. You have the guy down. All we need now to do is get her out of the way. Pin that light in a place where we won't care about it. And advance. We can get rid of the tank when we need to. So, however, we do need to get rid of the tank before we get infantry too close to the position. So I think we're going to do it from here, because the guy's now in my way. And I can, oh, you missed. This missing seems to be spreading. Definitely more people seem to be suffering from it. Although the tanks, in fairness, now do occasionally miss. And Larger moves forward. He's pinned the light. Probably not the worst area, but he fires and he blows up. So excellent. Advance the furthest you can, Larger. Furthest you can go, because we need to get to the other end of the bridge. We need to get you out of the zone of the mortar shell. More or less out of the zone of the mortar shell, and push them along as far as we can go. Come on. Push on. Along the bank there and into the current action. So that light is going to make a return, so I need to pin that light way off down there as well, if I can possibly manage it as well, so I can activate Largo again. I get him around the side of the hut. On the other side of the street, and he's not going to activate anything nasty down there, to the best of my knowledge. Largo's advance, though, has revealed an enemy scout. And the enemy scout, I think, is on the upper level. Around the corner here, so it's up to Alicia to deal with him. Oswald the Iron. He's probably tougher than the average scout, but Alicia can deal with him, no problem. You go, girl. Now, there's no obvious way down for Alicia, but she's going to provide kind of overwatch from there. And I don't think it matters anyway. As long as I get the Edelweiss to the final destination, I think that's going to complete the mission. So, Melville, you're up next. Push through. And we can use Melville. It finishes one of the enemy units, I think. And we can push Melville right up to the edge of the map. But that doesn't complete the rendezvous because he's not senior enough in the command structure to obviously do it. But we don't, if memory serves, we don't have to get the entire platoon up there. Enemy phase. Nothing much happens. Mortar round comes in. And off we go again. So, well, we have plenty of command points. Now we start moving the tank. So off we go. We'll wait for the lights to come down to us so we can pin it down at this end of the map. And we drive forward, and it's just a question of how far we can get and what we do with the lights at the other end. Well, it looks like we haven't made it all the way off the bridge, so we have a choice on the matter. We can work out ourselves what it is we're going to do. So we're going to activate a Ramsey, actually. And I think we're probably going to use Ramsey to pin the remaining light. Yes, she does it down here. So the light's well out of the way of the tank. That light now means that we won't have a mortar round dropping on the tank if we fall short of the doors. Let Ramsey clear. She's just about the edge of the... yeah, she's just outside the edge of the mortar round, so that's okay. She's safe. Round we go. Heading down towards Melville. We don't quite make it again. We have to activate it again. So we're on the diminishing returns business as well. However, we'll see how far we can get. We just might as well keep going. Because moving the tank down here, and that's it. We're onto the bridge. The operation's complete, and it's success. Thank you for watching this playthrough of the infiltration of Fouzen from the Valkyria Chronicles. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like and a share. Feel free to comment if you've not already done so. Please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.